You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. It stinks.
And go.
It
Hello.
stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Affected by Altitude, where everything stinks, as quoted by the critic. And I'm your host, Skyler Timmons, and this is a Purple Row podcast of the Rocky Mountain Rooftop Network, a proud member of the Fans First Sports Network. And I am joined here, as always, by my neighborino here, Evan Lang.
Full of country goodness and green penis. Oh, wait, that's terrible.
It's true. I think we've made that joke before.
Still funny, though. Like,
what do we want, man?
If you've never watched The Critic, the bits with Orson Welles that are sort of lampooning the later years of his career are truly very funny television.
Or if you're like me, you've only seen The Critic through one very good episode of The Simpsons, and that's all you needed.
Which is also true. There's also, in Pinky and the Brain, they let Maurice LaMarche do just like the whole actual commercial outtake thing from that Frozen Peas commercial that Orson Welles did. Also very funny.
But we're not here to reminisce about old cartoons from the past that really peaked in the 90s. We're here to talk about a team that also kind of peaked in the 90s, if they ever peaked at all. The Colorado Rockies, which, Evan, not good times. Not good times at all for our purple-clad, dino-loving team of whoever.
Yeah, especially right now where we just got absolutely shellacked by the San Francisco Giants, whom we've lost, 11 games in a row against them, going back to 2021.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how bad or wherever the Giants are in their season or how they're doing, they just always beat up on the Rockies.
And then we welcomed the Padres to town yesterday and just got curb stomped for a couple innings. We're able to, make it a little bit more of a ball game late in the evening, but by that point it didn't really matter. And most people were watching the Denver Nuggets anyway.
Yeah. So a much better team by all measures, really. And fortunately, we won't be spending all the time talking about the Nuggets either. But go Nuggies. They're doing it, Evan. They're doing it.
Some of the best basketball I've ever seen this team play in its 47-year history. And it's coming in the NBA Finals, which is exactly what you want. And honestly, it would probably be a much more fun podcast if we could just talk about how good the Nuggets are. But unfortunately, Skyler, I think we've got to talk about the Rockies.
Yeah, and probably for the next 47 years until they stumble their way into a World Series again somehow. Unlike the Nuggets, who earned their way there by sheer competitiveness.
If it's going to take 47 years, then that means we only have 17 years left.
Woo! Or unless it's 47 years from now.
Nah, because it was the Nuggets started as an NBA team 47 years ago. So then we would be gauging from 93 onward, I think, for the Rockies. But either way, it's...
Either way, they'll get there eventually, maybe. But yeah, so we're going to talk Rockies baseball. And primarily, we're going to talk about the power outage, what's happening with the closer role, and we're going to have a little fun at the end of the show and do our own little draft because we needed something fun to to cleanse the palate because this team's exhausting to talk about all the time. But let's just hop right into it. Evan, where are the home runs? And why don't the Rockies hit more home runs?
I legitimately don't know. And it's like Bill Smith said, it's like, yeah, I'm very confused by the lack of power. Because on paper, we have guys who can hit for power. We have plenty of guys who should be able to hit home runs. And nobody's doing it. Nobody on the team has over 10 home runs.
And we're
And
60 some odd games into the season.
And we have we're tied for it's a 3-way tie for third fewest home runs in the league with the Cincinnati Reds and the Detroit Tigers, both of whom are also bad teams, at 51 home runs. And you look at this roster and you see guys who supposedly should be able to hit home runs, but only Ryan McMahon leads the team, and he still doesn't have more than 10. He has 9. And a bunch of guys who just have 0, and guys who you expect to hit home runs. You expect Alan Trejo to have a home run or two. Even Harold Castro, like, he's not a big bopper, but he'll occasionally go yard.
Randall Grichuk, Chris Bryant, we've talked about. Charlie Blackmon's power is greatly diminished. Brenton Doyle, we know he has power. He only has a couple of home runs. Diaz has pop. He doesn't really have many home runs. There's no pop or power from this team, and it's extremely noticeable when all anybody ever talks about is, oh, you play at Coors Field, you must be having it's guaranteed a home run every time you make contact with the ball.
This alleged hitter's paradise that I guess we just don't know how to use anymore, because the Rockies have hit 30 home runs, because Moustakas had a home run last night at Coors Field this year. Opposing batters have hit 50. That's not okay, and I don't know where to address it, because the guys who you expect some of this power from are hitting well. Like Randall Grichuk is hitting extremely well, but he's just not generating the power that you would expect. He's getting tons of doubles, but he just can't lift it over the fence all the way. And granted, we've seen a couple times, especially at Coors Field, where the much maligned British barrier is taking away home runs.
Yeah, and so maybe that's one thing, but that doesn't matter as much if guys. The sure way to hit a home run at Coors Field is pull the ball, because you pull it and it's going to land right field, left field, down the lines in that prime area on the pull side power. They just don't have it, and I think a lot of it goes back to things we've harped on, where they're just not hitting the ball as hard. No, they've decreased ground balls. They're hitting more fly balls this season, but there's just no authority when they're hitting the ball, and probably should look at their pull percentages and stuff, but there's just no power when they've given up almost the same amount of home runs at Coors Field as they've hit as a team in the season in total, with 51 home runs. That's pretty bad. And I think they're on pace to have the lowest home run total for a season in franchise history in a regular full season.
Which is exactly what was happening last year too.
And the year before that.
And the year before that. And it's weird, because 2019, we actually hit a decent amount of home runs despite not being a particularly good team. Same for 2018 and 2017. While the offenses on those teams weren't great, the team was still hitting for power. But over the last few years, this year and last year especially, we've just seen this immense power drain. And it's very, very odd, because the Rockies of a team are actually doing great in terms of their batted ball profile. Line drives at 28.3% and ground balls at 39.4 with a fly ball rate of 26.3. That's good. That is a good, solid rate. But then you look at the amount of barrels that we're getting, or even solid contact, and it's like under 5% for solid contact. And we're pulling the ball a decent amount. 40%, it looks like. But what's really weird is that we're also hitting the ball dead on and opposite field at a pretty good clip too. Like, things are fairly even. This team is just not hitting the ball hard at all. One of the worst exit velocities in the league. It's just like 87.9%. One of the lowest hard hit percentages in the league. One of the lowest barrel percentages in the league. And it's really weird because even with Randall Grichuk, he's actually got a fantastic barrel percentage. He's one of the few, no, he's the only guy on this team with a barrel percentage over 15%. He's barreling the ball at a 16.5% clip. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong guy. That was CJ Cron.
Who hasn't played in several weeks.
Yeah, CJ Cron, who has 6 home runs, second most on the team, and hasn't played in almost a month, and we don't know when he'll play again. But I bring up Randall Grichuk because Randall Grichuk is a decent power hitting batter. That's one of the reasons why the Rockies got him, is that he can hit for power, and he's a good fly ball hitter. And we saw last year that he was struggling with ground balls a lot. He had a terrible ground ball rate. This year, that's not the case. This year, he's got a great ground ball rate. He's only grounding the ball 34% of the time. He's getting on base. He's getting good hits. He's probably one of the best hitters on this team right now. But it's just not translating at all. And when you have only 3 guys on the team who have more than 5 home runs, that's Elias Diaz, CJ Cron, and Ryan McMahon, and one of those guys hasn't played in over a month, it's very clear to anyone looking that this team has a power problem.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder because you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, which the Tampa Bay Rays have never been thought of, they're the best hitting team in the league. Pitching wise, they're fantastic, and then they get enough offense to win games that their pitching holds down for them. But Tampa Bay's success this season, Texas Rangers, success this season has come down to the fact that they put up some runs and they hit the long ball a lot. And that's something that the Rockies used to be, where there's tons of guys. They would be hitting home runs all the time. It felt like there was at least like a couple guys, 2 to 3 guys in the lineup for many years of this guy. I'm confident he feels like he could hit a home run every time he goes up to the plate.
Yeah. You have a couple guys every season who we're going to hit for 30 home runs every year. And we didn't have anybody get to 30 last year. I think CJ petered out at 29, and then a bunch of guys who were on the cusp of 20. But you're right. You look at teams like the Rays where they have 6 players who all have more than 10 home runs, or you look at the Rangers, who I'm pulling up right now, and they only have 2 guys who have more than 10, but both of those guys have way more than 10. You have Adolis Garcia at the top who's got 15.
Yeah, there's a thing I pointed out last night on Twitter from Friday's game against the Padres that Fernando Tatis Jr., who has played in 43 games this season, he leads the Padres with 12 home runs. Ryan McMahon has played in 63 games. He has 9 home runs, and that leads the Rockies. And and they play at some pretty different home ballpark environments, where San Diego, pretty much a pitcher's park, even though they've changed the dimensions to make it more hitter-friendly, still fairly a hitter's park or a pitcher's park, versus Coors Field, the stigma of, it's a home run ballpark. We're just not getting it. And so it makes you wonder, is it an organizational issue where we're just getting out prepped by other teams? Pitchers know how to attack Rockies hitters to where we're not generating power, or are there mechanical things they need to address, analytics, doing something so they can generate more, power and lift to knock some balls out of the ballpark?
I mean, I think it's a mix of everything. The Rockies especially have never really been one for analytics and preparation in particular for other teams. But I don't necessarily think it's a mechanical issue, at least much of one, because we have seen a tremendous shift in the quality of at-bats this season under new hitting coach Hensley Mullins. Like I mentioned before, ground ball rate's way down, line drive rate is way up. They are taking better at-bats. They're just not getting any power. They're just not hitting the ball hard. That's the weirdest thing. It's you look at these guys and they've got good swings. They're making they're getting the hits, they're getting on base, but they're not hitting the ball hard. They're not making good contact. it's just really
Mm-hmm.
weird. It's all really weird.
Yeah. And just looking at some stats, they're second in all of baseball in batting average on balls in play at a 324 clip. That's just behind the Rangers. So that's pretty good on the balls in play. But then this is a pretty dim thing is when the fly balls they are hitting aren't doing anything. So yeah, they're hitting more, but they're not doing anything, where they have a home run to fly ball ratio of 8.3%. That is 29th in all of baseball, just ahead of the Cleveland Guardians, who their really main power guy is Jose Ramirez, and he's not having a great year at the moment. And we're behind the Washington Nationals, who are at an 8.5 clip. So yeah, we're hitting more fly balls and line drives. Those fly balls aren't doing anything. They're just sort of lazy out to the center fielder. We're not roping them. When they do make contact and a ball goes flying, Rockies are just smashing home runs.
Yeah.
When they make contact.
Look at Nolan Jones the other day, where he hit an absolute bullet. Longest Rockies home run of the season, second longest MLB home run, one of the hardest hit home runs. He hit this thing 483 feet at 114.2 miles per hour. He obliterated that ball. So you know that these guys have the potential to do that. CJ Cron is also high on the list of longest home runs and hardest hit home runs. Ryan McMahon is hitting the ball pretty hard. When he's making good contact, he's hitting like 110, 112 miles per hour, but he's just not getting them out of the park. And another really weird thing with this team right now in terms of hitting is that our three core hitting stats, average, on base, and slugging, are all fairly okay. If they're not great, they're sitting around league average. So like our slugging percentage is tied for is pretty much exactly league average right now. It's the 15th best at 403. 403, not a great slugging percentage, but compared to the rest of the league, it's fine. It's average. Same for on base, where we're around league average, and our team batting average, where we've got the 9th best team batting average in the league. But we're not doing anything with any of that.
Yeah, we're not getting those. No, when we are getting home runs, it's a solo shot or a nice little 2-run homer. Those are nice, but it's in those big moments you're not getting that big, nail in the coffin type of home run hit that we've seen come against the Rockies this season, where bases loaded. Well, Rockies still haven't hit a grand slam. No, that's not one thing to harp on. But
it's a little weird though.
Yeah, it's weird when how many times we've seen them load the bases and they don't score because nobody can get a hit. We don't have the big bopper to come in and just slug one out. And so it's that weird dynamic where there's just no power. No, like we're saying, looking at the Rockies lineup, there's nobody that I have confidence in the terms of, okay, without a doubt, I know this guy can hit a home run. In this instant, I expect him to hit a home run. That's like the best case scenario. It's on the table. But these last couple of years, even at times with CJ Cron, you're like, oh, I know he can do it, but I don't have all the utmost confidence that he can. Just with sometimes how he's swinging the bat, is he in a hot streak at the moment or not? Whereas in the years past, we had Nolan Arenado's coming up, or Trevor Story's coming up, Cargo's coming up. Yeah, I'm expecting Dong City at the moment. Old Chuck, and things are. Todd Helton used to be like that, and Matt Holliday, Troy Tulowitzki. We don't really have those guys anymore, or we have them. They're just not in that mold yet, which is what I would like.
What's really strange about this team is that we are getting hits and we're getting extra base hits. Like, that's not as big of a problem as it has been in previous years. The Rockies have the 4th most hits in the total hits in the league, and they have the most doubles in the league. They have 144 doubles as a team, and we have multiple guys pushing 20 doubles. We have multiple guys who are all over 10. Ryan McMahon and Ezekiel Tovar both have 18, and we're also hitting a fair amount of triples. We have 10 triples as a team. So you can tell that there is okay stuff going on there. Like the last couple of years, especially, I have complained very much about how broken the team's offense is. And the complaints are not even remotely the same this year. It is so weird.
Yeah, there's still just that one missing component of their offense. It's good. Less ground balls. Walks and strikeouts are always weird. But even those, like, you're seeing improvements in areas with different guys. And then the extra base hits with doubles and triples. But they're still missing that big power hit. And the home run, a guaranteed run. That's the easiest way to score a run. The guaranteed way to score a run is when you get a home run. And the Rockies just aren't hitting them. And so that's a lot of missed opportunities where there's guys on base and we just can't get that big hit because it's strikeout, pop out with a guy on second base. And so it's few and far in between, but hopefully they can figure something out, really address it in the offseason. Like, okay, why don't we have more power? Why aren't we getting more power out of our guys? And figure out a way to address it instead of, we'll just bring in this known home run hitter. No, what are you doing to help improve your guys so their plate approach can result in more home runs, more extra base hits?
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on this before we take a quick break is that Hensley Mullins, Bam Bam Mullins, has clearly done a very good job with this team, where a lot of the issues that we were talking about last year, the incredibly high ground ball rate and the difficulty getting extra base hits, the very empty batting average, a lot of those have improved tremendously. I think Bam Bam is a fantastic hitting coach, and he is working well for this team. What this means for me, and it's exactly like you said, this is something that we address in the offseason and continue to work on throughout this year of what adjustments can we make, what can we continue to improve to fix the next problem. Because he's shown that he can help make adjustments and fix these problems.
Yeah, and like even minor in-season adjustments, because look at Ryan McMahon and kind of the turnaround he's kind of having. And yeah, he hits the ball hard. He's just really having a lot of bad luck because he's just smoking it right at guys.
Yeah,
things like that.
It's like, oh man, he hit that ball 1,000,000 miles per hour right into the glove of the shortstop.
Yeah. So yeah, Bam Bam's doing some good, and it's a nice breath of fresh air. There's just that one component that that the organization still needs to figure out of how to put it together instead of just shrugging like we anticipated more home runs.
Yeah. Like,
what's going on?
Well, we brought in Mike Moustakas, and Mike Moustakas used to hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, Moose has 3 home runs this year. And granted, he's not playing that much, but come on.
Yeah. And also, you can't blame the power outage on Brendan Rodgers being injured, Bill Schmidt. He's not that big of a home run hitter in the first place.
Yeah, he's like a medium home run hitter. He'll get you 10 plus, but he's never going to be like a 30 plus home run hitter.
Yeah, exactly. So it's weird, man, but hopefully we'll get more home runs in the future. One day indeed. But we'll go ahead and take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're also we'll talk about some pitching aspects and some shuffling going on around there. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these brief messages. All right, welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. I'm Skyler, that's Evan. We are chugging along here with, if you're watching the video version, you'll see our very humorous Hurricane Nettie references to The Simpsons. We're quoting a lot before the show started, so it just kind of converged into one thing. Fun times. But we're not here to talk about The Simpsons. We're here to talk about now. On Friday, we got some news that there's going to be some shuffling in the back end of the bullpen, as Bud Black told reporters that Pierce Johnson is effectively removed from the closer role after some rough outings against the San Francisco Giants, and overall just some kind of inconsistency out of that ninth inning role for Pierce Johnson. And so he's out. We don't really know who's going to fill that void. And from what it sounds like, it might be by assignment, by committee of matchups, who's going to be the hot hand. But so Pierce Johnson out of the closer role. Evan, what do you make of this?
So Pierce Johnson is tough because he's never really been a closer before, and we put him into this role, and we know that he is, on paper at least, he's a much better pitcher than what we've seen out of him lately. His ERA's ballooned to 7.50, but his FIP is 5.36 and has the potential to go even lower. I just don't think he's the choice for high leverage closer situations, especially over the last couple of games where he's really struggled to get the job done. And I don't think that's necessarily an indictment of Johnson overall as a pitcher. Some guys are just not closers. And we saw him rattle off like 11 consecutive saves.
But they're still kind of high wire acts.
But they were exactly. They were not like clean saves. A lot of them seemed very fluky or lucky or ooh, thank goodness he got out of that situation. Versus like Pierce Johnson in general has been much more of a middle or late inning guy, not a closer. He actually got, he has 5 years of play in the big leagues before this year, and this year was the first time he ever notched a save. Do I think we should like DFA Johnson or anything like that? No, I think we should do what we've done before when a guy isn't working out as a closer and move him to a lower leverage situation and get a much better picture of where he is at as a reliever. Do I think that he is untouchable? Absolutely not, especially when you have guys like Gavin Hollowell down in Albuquerque, who is pitching very well now that he's come back from injury, and eventually he's going to get called up and somebody's going to have to get sent packing.
Yeah, I was just looking at his numbers. They're in that ninth inning role or that closer role, finishing out games. 6 of his 26 outings he's had this season, in 6 of them he's allowed at least 2 runs, and he has 2 outings where he's allowed 3 runs, and then 1 outing where he allowed 4 runs against the Miami Marlins. Rockies ended up winning that 7-6, so panned out. But yeah, he was just kind of thrown into that role because Daniel Bard was going to be the de facto closer, but then he starts the season on the injured list with the anxiety, and so they kind of scramble like, let's just stick Pierce Johnson in there. And so he did admirably. But like we were saying, it's just that high wire act where the walks and then having to pitch around walks and men on base. You don't want your closer coming in and immediately walking guys. That's a problem we've seen Daniel Bard have at times too. And he can get his strikeouts. We've seen that. And he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. He's given up, about 5 this season. So not great. But like you said, he's been a lot better than some of those numbers indicate, and he's a lot better pitcher than some of that success.
But I think for a fill-in closer, there was kind of I don't want to say last minute decision for the first third or so of the season. I think Johnson performed fairly admirably, but we've reached the peak of where he can really be as a closer. Whereas for the majority of his career, he's worked in the 7th and 8th innings. And I think you're going to want to make that switch where we move him. I'd like to see him more in the 7th because it tends to be a lot lower leverage at that point in the game, and we can get more of a fair evaluation of where he is at right now. But it really is then just deciding, well, who is going to take over as the closer. And there's plenty of options, though. I have one that I prefer, and I think it needs to be, if it's not going to be Daniel Bard retaking his closer spot, I think it needs to be Justin Lawrence.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good one, and we'll rattle off the options right now, and we'll dive more into Lawrence. So there's Daniel Bard. You've got Jake Bird. There's Brent Suter. You've got Brad Hand, and then there's Justin Lawrence. And am I forgetting anybody? It's like most of the bullpen. Basically, anybody in that bullpen could be the closer,
Yeah.
except Peter Lambert.
You have some guys in the minors like Gavin Hollowell who projects as a closer for when he's got some solid big league experience around him, and potentially Nick Mears, who has some really interesting stuff in his mechanics and his pitching that you could put to use in a closing role. But for right now, we're really looking at those 5 who are on the big league roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I'm in agreement with you where Justin Lawrence seems like one of the best options. If not Daniel Bard, if they don't feel like he's quite ready or ready to turn that corner and take it back over, Justin Lawrence seems like a pretty good option for the time being to get the majority of those closing opportunities to get saves, because we've seen him work in the 9th inning. We've seen him work 8th inning and 9th inning. So he seems like the kind of closer you'd want, the kind of pitcher you'd want there in those late innings and in that 9th inning, because he's got some good stuff.
And the reason why I really, really like Lawrence as the closer is that for the most part, I view Justin Lawrence as a 1-inning guy. He can work multiple innings, and we've seen him work multiple innings, but especially what's been asked of him, he gets called in a lot of high leverage situations where he's got to get some tough outs, and he does fantastic. And then they'll keep him in, and because he burned a lot of energy on getting those high leverage outs, he's just not as polished in the 2nd inning. We saw that in one of his most recent outings where this was again against the Giants. Lawrence comes in, bases are occupied. He gets 3 really tough outs and was fantastic. And then they brought him in for the next inning, and he just struggled a whole lot more. And I don't think that's like and I've said this before, it's not an indictment of Justin Lawrence as a pitcher. It's that I think he does his best, or at least he does very well, in single inning high leverage situations. And that is exactly what a closer needs to be. Per Baseball Reference, in high leverage situations, he's got a strikeout to walk ratio that's a little higher at 1.18. So he does walk more batters. But he's got one of the lower OPSs for his splits at 717. Obviously, like any pitcher, he does his best in low leverage situations. But what's really funny about him is his batting splits against him are at their worst in medium leverage situations, where in what's called medium leverage, he's got opposing batters hitting 313, 364, 433, the highest for all 3 categories, except for on base percentage, which is a little interesting. But and this is throughout his entire career, of course. So we're looking at both 2021 and 2022. But this year especially, he's been very good in high leverage situations with that frisbee sweeper of his.
Uh-huh.
And I am really, really happy with where he is at as a pitcher, where I want to see what he can do as a closer. Because if I pull up his 2023 splits and scroll on down basically to exactly where I was at here, his high leverage splits are fantastic this season. In 44 high leverage plate appearances this season, he's got a strikeout to walk ratio of just 3.67, and batters against him have an OPS of 440. But things get to be a little hinkier the more he pitches.
Uh-huh.
And that happens with a lot of relievers, where you're out there and you're throwing gas to get these high leverage outs. You're just expending more energy, where you're getting more break on your pitches, you're getting more velocity on your pitches. The trade-off is that you're gonna have less stamina and you're gonna have less of that stuff to tap into your next inning out.
Uh-huh.
And if Lawrence can continue to be really good in these high leverage situations, I see no reason why he can't be the closer going forward if Bard is not ready to resume his role.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it's good too with Lawrence. Yeah, he's not throwing the 100-mile-an-hour gas heaters anymore or as much. but he's still got a nice hard sinker being that side armor that it fits really well into a closer role where he's got the sinker and he's got the sweeper. He's pounding sinkers, sweeper sets it to set up that sweeper, whips across the strike zone, and you get him. He's kind of like Adam Ottavino in that aspect, where Ottavino, he was tossing his fastballs and stuff in there to set up a slider. And so he kind of fits that mold of, yeah, this is a good guy to bring in a high leverage, top, bottom of the ninth save situation, and he can go out there and get you a couple punch outs and a ground out. And so a lot more confidence in his makeup as a pitcher and where he's got the velocity going for him, and he's got two really good pitches and that really good wipeout pitch of a sweeper. So it all kind of goes together, meshes well.
And we've discussed before, and I've written about how, you mentioned his velocity not being quite the same, is that was an adjustment that he made to have better command. And he can still dip in and get that 100-mile-per-hour sinker if you need him to. But ideally, you don't need him to because he's got that wicked sweeper. And I think he just profiles so well for the closing role, especially because the other four pitchers on this list, excluding Daniel Bard, you have Suter, Bird, and Hand. Brad Hand is very much a situational pitcher. You don't really, I think, have him slotted for a kind of closing role. And for Bird and for Suter, we rely on them way too much for their middle innings work and working extra, where both Bird and Suter are the 1 and 2 most used by innings pitchers in relief this season in all of Major League Baseball. And Lawrence is up there. J-Law is, I think, number 5 or number 6 right now. He's gotten a lot of work in. But if I had to pick any of these guys, it's Lawrence. Lawrence profiles the best as the closer.
And like, I think some of those other guys, Suter and Hand, they're a little bit more of the soft tossing side of things. And ideally, you don't want a soft tosser there in the 9th inning. Then I like with Lawrence, he could dip in. That's kind of what you want in that 9th inning. With the game on the line, you're got a brief margin of victory to be able to even have a guy that, if he needs to, can dip in to just pump gas right by somebody for a strikeout. You'd love to see that in the 9th inning. And yeah, like Jake Bird and Brent Suter, they're best there in those middle innings to kind of bridge the gap and eat those innings with those rubber arms and keep things alive for the next guy to get to Lawrence. Good bridge guys. And then Brad Hand, that's his name. Yeah, he's definitely that situational guy. And there's also kind of like the incentive not to have him close out games, because with his contract, his $7 million contract option for next season becomes guaranteed if he closes 25 games this season. He's at 6. And so currently not on pace to get there, but there's kind of that financial thing, like, we don't want to kind of be tied to this 34-year-old for $7 million next season. And so maybe we can hold him back and to just make sure he doesn't get to 25, because otherwise it's a team option with a $500K buyout.
Yeah.
If he ends up getting traded, it becomes a mutual option for whoever he goes to. But so there's some incentive not to let Hand close beyond the matchups and everything. But yeah, I think Lawrence should get that first look, because I think he's earned it. But he's proven himself and grown over his time as a big leaguer and the time he's been up with the Rockies. This season, he's really earned that role and that chance to do that, because he's got the stuff for it. He's got the makeup for it.
Yeah, and it's always great because I love watching pitchers like, all right, 96, 96, 97, 102. Where'd that come from?
Woo!
And J-Law does have that sort of burn your eyebrows off velocity when he needs it. But the fact that he's not relying purely on that anymore, because with his sinker in 2021 especially, he was very reliant on that pure velocity. And now that he doesn't need to rely purely on velocity, it shows you how much he has grown as a big leaguer. And I agree that he needs that opportunity. And I also, with the other guys, especially Suter and Bird, you don't want to mess with this bullpen too much, because unfortunately this bullpen is organized due to the faults of the rotation. And we've talked at length about the rotation, but the fact that we have two long relievers who regularly need to get called into use in Peter Lambert and Matt Caracidi says a lot about how this bullpen is constructed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like kind of one last thing, the growth with Lawrence. And this is a thing that a lot of baseball players and pitchers, I think, have to realize at some point, is there's more to pitching than just pumping gas, where we've seen him grow from guy that throws gas, just a thrower, into a pitcher, where he's now setting stuff up. He's got a wipeout pitch. And so it comes to, okay, how do I attack the zone and attack hitters to set up this pitch to fool him, to get him swing at my sweeper down and away? And we've seen him evolve into that right before our eyes this season, which is awesome to see. And that's what you want, because a lot of these guys can rely just on velocity, growing up through high school, college, even through the minor leagues up to a point. But in the big leagues, you got to be more than just a thrower. You got to learn how to pitch and become a bona fide pitcher in all sense of the word. And that's what he's done. And so we'd love to see him closing out.
We've seen other relievers in the big leagues make these same kind of developments. A guy who it reminds me of a lot is Edwin Diaz. In his early days, was much more of a thrower. He was going to pump that straight gas at you. And we saw him really develop into a more of a pitcher than a thrower, like we've seen for Justin. And I feel vindicated because I've been singing the praises of Justin Lawrence since he was in the minors, because I always thought that he had this kind of potential. And it's so great to see him realizing that potential, because I just knew that he had this kind of ability. He just had to hone it, to fine tune it, to find his place. And that's what he's done.
You could say that about, we wish a lot of guys could follow suit, but not everybody pans out. But it looks like Lawrence is for now, or for the time being, and hopefully he gets that opportunity here. Right. Well, we talked a lot more about the closer role than we thought we would. So it's time to take another break here, Evan. When we come back, I think it's draft time, Evan.
Oh,
you ready? You ready
the
for
All-Star
it?
break's not for another month.
No, we're drafting our own little teams. It'll be fun. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere here on Affected by Altitude. Woo! Hello and welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. We had our intro music playing there, but Evan decided to cut it short. So we decided to kind of do something fun here to kind of close out the show. Sometimes the Rockies are stressful, and we didn't want it to just be a straight negative or harping on fest, which I think we've actually done pretty good here in this episode. Staying away from being, it's very easy to dive into ranting and raving, and it's fun too. But we decided to just have a little fun here. It is the Rockies' 30th anniversary this season, and despite the team kind of performing how you'd expect they would, and they're doing some celebration. I mean, we've had a couple of alumni appearances at Coors Field. Aaron Cook is there for this weekend against the Padres, and kind of draft our own little favorite teams. And so this one, folks, we're going to take turns here filling out a classic lineup, National League style rules of a 1 through 9. And how many relievers should we do? Just one closing pitcher, or maybe two relievers?
So we're doing a 1 through 9, including a starting pitcher. We also want to ask, how many starting pitchers do we want to take? Do we want to fill out full rotation, or just pick one or two?
Let's just do one. One for now. This is this is our opening day single exhibition. We're gonna have our one starter who's gonna throw us 8 innings, and then we're gonna.
So then we'll do a 1 through 9 classic lineup. So 8 position players and your starting pitcher, and then a closer.
That works. And then you can pick your manager if you want.
I'm down. Let's pick a manager. So to determine who goes first, we're gonna flip a coin. Skyler, call it heads or tails.
Tails.
Heads.
Blasted.
So I'm gonna go first.
Okay, I'm gonna pull out my piece of paper here so I can keep track. And we will put these on the internets, on the Twitters, and you people can vote for them.
Yeah, we'll post these on the post on Purple Row, and we'll put it up on Twitter as well. You can tell us who you think has the better lineup.
All righty, Evan. Who's your first pick in the inaugural Affected by Altitude player draft?
See, this one's really tough because I know for a fact that there's 2 players that one of us is going to take one of for each of these 2 because obviously. So I'm going to go with my favorite player of all time, playing right field for Evan's Colorado Rockies, number 33, Larry Walker.
All right. Larry Walker. I guess we can do the snake style draft where then I pick again, and then you do pick.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Larry Walker, then me. Well, pretty easy.
Nafy Perez.
Yeah. Random homie, Mark Thompson. No,
Brooks Kieschnick.
This is a pretty easy one. First pick, he's going to handle my first baseman duties. Future Hall of Famer, the Todd Father.
He's making me an offer I can't refuse.
It's actually not a bad impression.
All right, so we got Todd Helton, and then right away, oh man, who do I want? Okay, I'm snagging him right now for the outfield, Carlos Gonzalez.
All right. For third base, I'm going to take Nolan Arenado.
Ooh. I thought about it.
I know that there's the bad blood there, but he truly is one of the best players of all time for this organization.
It's true. Yeah, he's a tough one not to pick. Anyway, I think it's you again, Evan.
All righty. This one's a little tougher. I'm trying to decide who I want my first baseman to be, and I think it's going to be Andres Galarraga.
Sure you don't want Daniel Murphy or Ian Desmond?
No, I want Ben Paulson.
Did have a good mustache.
He was one of those guys where I thought he had very good potential, but
Alrighty, back to me. Second base, we're going with DJ LeMahieu. I mean, how can you not take just a solid Gold Glove at second base? Plus, he gets on base, and I'll do what the Yankees did and just tell him you hit the ball wherever you want to. You do whatever, DJ.
That's 2016 batting title winner, DJ LeMahieu.
Mm-hmm. So I'll take him, and then I will compliment him. This is the tough one. Who do I want to be his middle infield partner?
One of 2 options, basically.
Yeah. You know what? I'm in a 2013 type of mood. We're going to put Tulo there at shortstop, and I'm going to exhaust all my resources into making sure he stays healthy.
If you're taking Tulo, then I'm taking Story. And then second baseman is tough because you really did take I would say the best second baseman that we've ever had as a team.
Mm-hmm.
See, this really narrows it down to two guys for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's either EY Senior or it's Brendan Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a kind of a tough one because that's really what it boils down. There's like some single season guys you can pick, but
I'm not going to pick Ronnie Belliard. Or who was it in
2012 World Series champion Marco Scutaro?
Who was it? It was 96 or 97, like Jeff Abbott.
I can tell you.
See, if you go to Baseball Reference and you pull up the all-time opening day starters list or the regular starters list, and you look at the guys who started the most games at the position for each year, second base outside of really DJ LeMahieu is a mess. I think I'm going to go with Brendan Rodgers.
Ooh. It's a pretty get a little bit more pop out of that, I think, and you've still got that Gold Glove defense. Pretty good pick. EY Senior is not a bad pick.
Absolutely not.
EY no. Junior. Can you still believe that EY Junior was a thing? It's such a weird thing in Rockies history. They had both EYs play in the organization. Still one of the best commercials I've ever seen.
I feel like that happens a lot though, where a lot of teams they'll draft the son of one of their guys.
Mm-hmm. Pretty easy. Okay, back over to me. We're heading back out to the outfield. We'll bring in Mr. Chuck Nasty. I got to figure out where I'm sticking these outfield guys.
See, that's my problem is that I waited too long for outfield.
Mm-hmm. And, do I make it even harder on you? I will. I'm going back to the outfield, Mr. Matt Holliday.
All right.
So Chuck's playing right field, and Cargo's going to be in center. I'm going to stick Chuck in right field, Holliday in left.
It's interesting that you put Cargo in center because that's not really where he played that much.
Yeah, but he's got the legs for it still. He's better than
True.
Charlie out there.
Then give me Dexter Fowler and Brad Hopp.
Ooh.
I'll put Dexy in center and I'll put Brad Hopp in right.
Where's Larry Walker playing?
Oh, that's right. I put Larry in right. Throw Hopp in left.
The Hopster.
Though Larry Walker can play a more than competent left field. Like if he was that good in right.
Yeah, I know. And he played some center field. It's one of those things too of, well, we're keeping it's only because of his defense is so awful that Dante Bichette's not on either of these rosters.
Yeah, that 1999 season where he was one of the best hitters in the league, but still worth negative 2.3 RWAR because his defense was so bad.
I know. Could you imagine if he had never gotten that knee injury playing some football prior to one of those seasons in Milwaukee? If he had never had to get that knee surgery after playing some football recreationally, I think it was like at a Thanksgiving or something. If that never happened, his defense probably would have never tanked because he was a good outfielder before that injury. It just took away his lateral movement and he just couldn't run anymore. Poor guy. All right, back over to me. What do I got here? Well, this is pretty easy. Third base. Garrett Atkins. No.
Don't you hate on Garrett Atkins. I love Garrett Atkins.
He was good for a couple seasons, then he bet on himself, and it didn't pan out. Also injuries.
The best of us.
Yeah, but can't take third baseman if not Arenado. Vinny Castilla. Good times. People forget, too, how good of a defender he was. Plus,
he was so nimble early in his career too. People also forget. I mentioned this pre-show. Vinny was drafted as was brought into the organization as a shortstop.
Yeah, and it took him a while. Like, yeah, that's your opening day third baseman. Eventually, when they finally decided on that. Let's see. Okay. Well, I guess all I have left is a catcher. This is the tough one. because catching is probably the shallowest position in franchise history of guys you really want to take.
Kurt Manwaring.
Yeah, no. No way. We every Rocky ever, we got over the hate of Kurt Manwaring. But oh man, this is a tough one. I don't want Ionetta. It's for me. It's like between Torrey Alba. I guess you could take Diaz, but really for me, it's between Torrey Alba and Girardi, and I think I'm going to take Joe Girardi. The
Joe
original,
Girardi, who 93, 94 was really good.
yeah,
but
the original Rocky.
That 95 season where he just really diminished because he was getting older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to take Joe Girardi. There's a couple I could take. Like, well, we'll let you pick first. Oh wait, yeah, those were my two picks.
I choose Danny Artois
as your catcher.
Yeah, that was a joke.
I will scratch the name out.
I said it a little too confidently.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
See, it's really tough because real talk, his first 2 seasons, Willeen Rosario was not that bad a catcher, but his defense just continued to get worse and worse, and his bat couldn't back it up. I think I'm actually going to go with Elias Diaz.
Not a bad pick.
Who is also just the second catcher in Rockies history. No, third, sorry, because William Rosario. Third catcher in Rockies history to be the everyday starter at catcher for 3 straight years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a good pick. And other ones I was thinking of, Miguel Olivo had a good season in 2010. This was before he tried to bite a guy's ear off down in Albuquerque when he was with the Dodgers. And like Jonathan Lucroy was good for half a season. But then Ionetta had some good stuff. But I honestly think there's better catchers than Chris Ionetta that have been with the organization just overall.
Tony Walters as a pitch framer and for his ability to work with pitchers would have been a solid choice. Catcher is weird. Catcher is even more of a mess than second base, where we've had so many different catchers and we've never really had the one true franchise catcher. This was one of the first things I ever wrote about on Purple Row way back when, was how as a franchise we've never had a franchise catcher, which is what makes Drew Romo so tantalizing.
Or like any of those other guys that are coming up. The catching position is a lot brighter than it's been, in years.
Yeah. And really the only other guy that we had who was projected to be the franchise catcher other than Chris Ionetta was Ben Petrick, who I could talk for hours about Ben Petrick and what a shame it was that his playing career was cut short by early onset Parkinson's, because if you don't remember, he was the guy. He could do it all. He was a 5-tool catcher. That was the crazy thing, is that he was a catcher who was fast, who could hit, who could field. He could do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And so hopefully the future gets brighter with catchers, because be nice. Elias Diaz. Vote Diaz. He could be our first all-star catcher in team history, which that would be pretty exciting.
That would be very cool. Like, that's something I love about Elias Diaz is he's not a perfect player, but he incorporates so many good parts of the catching game. Where when he's hitting, he can hit really well. He calls a very good game. He works really well with the pitching staff, especially young pitchers. I love Elias Diaz. And I feel bad because I was very much against the signing when we first brought him in. And he's ended up being a guy I really like and I really appreciate.
Honorable mention, Drew Butera. He was going to be he was my second pick. Just kidding.
Drew Butera, you mean Austin Wins? Who are essentially the same guy. They even wear the same number.
Oh, well, small world.
And then I think I get to pick our first pitcher.
Yes, you do.
See, this one's tough because do I dip into the old pitching staff or do I take one of our current pitchers? And I think I'm going to go with Kyle Freeland.
Ooh. Nice. Kyle Freeland. I thought about Kyle Freeland, but I couldn't deny myself the opportunity to have one Ubaldo Jimenez take the ball on the mound for me.
See, that was, if I picked an older pitcher, it was going to be him. But I suppose I'm going more with like the longevity factor, which is Freeland at this point. Also, another really tempting one for me was Cookie.
Yeah. Or Jorge De La Rosa is a good pick. What's his name? Herman, John Gray. A lot more of the later ones. Mike Hampton you could have picked.
I'm a Mike Hampton apologist, and you know that.
Hey, I wasn't paying attention to the Rockies much at that time, so I was just a wee youngin in first grade.
Yeah, versus in 2001, I was in fifth grade, so I was old enough to really be paying attention every day to the Rockies. I'd ask my dad for the sports section, stuff like that. Mike Hampton, we've said this before. I won't hash out the whole conversation. The Rockies did not give him a fair chance. They signed him to an 8-year deal, and they didn't let him play more than 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give him a chance to figure it out.
But hey, at least they cut bait early and got some really long living prospects for that, right?
What they did is they did exactly what they did with Darryl Kyle, where they took a pitcher who had really excelled elsewhere, signed him to a big long-term deal, and then cut bait when he wasn't immediately amazing.
Mm-hmm. Poor stuff. But yeah. But Ubaldo Jimenez, I feel like Ubaldo, if he's on, I'm counting on 2010 Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah. First half 2010 Ubaldo is unbeatable.
If nothing else, because you got a high-powered lineup on here with Larry Walker, Arenado, Galarraga, Story, and then you've got like Hopster out there.
Yeah. A big reason why I picked Freeland, hypothetically, is because this roster is going to get him run support, something that he doesn't really get a lot of.
And that's what I hope my roster can do too with Ubaldo. If he's not on, at least he can keep me in close enough thanks to the offense. Hopefully. And I've got some good defense so he can work behind him. Actually, we've both got some really good defense on these teams. And then closing pitcher for me, who's coming in the 9th to close this sucker out, to seal the victory. Oh, this is a tough one. I was trying to think about it. This is tough. Because it's hard with closers. Because do you go with the guys that have the franchise records for single season, career, or just really good,
or guys who are just like consistent?
Yeah, and it's just tough. But I'm gonna regret this, aren't I?
I mean, are you picking like Bruce Ruffin? Because other than that,
no,
like, there's not a whole lot of regret here. Like you got your guys, and whoever it is.
I'm gonna go with Houston Street.
See, that is, I think, a good choice. I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, but there's also some other ones that could be better. I'm just still reflecting on the 2009 postseason.
See, if you didn't pick Houston Street, I was probably going to. He was very high on my list because there have been some pretty underrated closers on this team. Some guys that I think a lot of people forget about, guys like Jose Jimenez in the early 2000s, who held the single season saves record for the Rockies for a very long time. And then you have even more recently, Greg Holland's single season with the Rockies where he was an all-star. Wade Davis in 2018 was actually very good. People forget about that because of how hard he fell off. But that first season, he was looking like he was worth that contract we signed him to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you have Daniel Bard right now. But if you're going with Houston Street, then I got to go with Brian Fuentes.
Ooh, the pizza slinger. Nice. He still has the career. He holds the record in franchise history for most career saves. I think he does.
That's a question. Yeah, that is correct. Top 5: Brian Fuentes 115, Jose Jimenez 102, Houston Street 84, Daniel Bard 60, tied with Wade Davis and Bruce Ruffin for 60 each.
Yeah. I was also going to say Rafael Betancourt was an option, but I don't know if we're playing with pitch clock rules in this game, hypothetical game, but I'm not throwing Betancourt out there with a pitch clock.
If this is a classic lineup with no designated hitter except only if we're playing an away game against an American League team, I'm going to say no pitch clock.
Betancourt Betancourt would be a good option.
Yeah, he's a good secondary there.
As long as you just don't mind him working as slowly as possible, but still funny. I think Alex Colomé was slower than him.
Oh, Alex Colomé was tough.
But and one last thing here. But yeah, Houston Street, Brian Fuentes, good closers. You've got the T-Rex arm lefty and winner of a Guys Grocery Game competition on Food Network.
Oh, that's right.
And then I got Houston Street, who's he was a solid closer. Wasn't a hard tosser, but crafty closer. Did pretty good. But Evan, who's captaining this squad? Who's at the helm as the skipper for your Evan Rockies?
I gotta take Groove. Give me Big Don Baylor.
Don Baylor. And as for me, what's his name?
Jim
Smoking
Tracy.
Heaters. No, I'm taking Clint Hurdle. You can't do better. Clint Hurdle is still one of the best Rockies coaches. I think just as a personality, he was the glue for those Rockies teams. Those years, some of those years he carried them through some hard times, but he helped right the ship at times.
I mean, you could have picked, like you said, Smoking Heaters. You could have picked Jim Leland.
That's his name.
It's tough because managerially, I think the Rockies have been sort of a hard team to place because they've never really had that big household name manager like some other teams have had.
Mm-hmm.
Your Buck Showalters, your Terry Franconas, your I don't know,
like Joe Madden and
Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
But guys like Don Baylor and Clint Hurdle, and honestly, even Bud Black have been good managers for this team.
And Jim Tracy.
Jim Tracy, for his 4 seasons as a manager, he won Manager of the Year in 2009 because he righted that ship.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about Walt Weiss.
Hey, Walt was fine. He just had nothing. That was a weird time for the Rockies. Walt Weiss kind of got the short end of the stick in those seasons.
I think he also just really wasn't ready to be a big league manager yet.
Yeah, maybe not quite yet because he was coming straight from high school.
Yeah, he went straight from high school to being a big league manager. And now he's taking a much more traditional approach. He's the bench coach for the Atlanta Braves. And I think we'll see Walt be a manager again at some point. I think he has that capability in him. But he inherited a very bad Rockies team.
And there's a lot of front office kerfuffles happening and not exactly at one point having 2 GMs or a GM setting up an office in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. And then Jeff Bridich comes in.
I love Walt the player, and I love Walt the person. I just don't love Walt the 2013 to 2016 manager.
Could have been Giambi. He interviewed for that position that year. That would have
I
been
feel
interesting.
I feel like it would have been interesting, but I feel like Giambi would have had a lot of the same issues that Walt Weiss had.
Yeah, probably. But
Also, both former Oakland Athletics.
there you go. You mean the Las Vegas Athletics?
See, I'm starting to think that's not going to happen.
I hope it doesn't, because that'd be hilarious.
I also hope it doesn't, because it is exactly what Fisher and Kavala deserve. So we'll see.
Yeah. But that will conclude our inaugural draft. Not too bad. Here to recap, Evan's team, he got Larry Walker, Nolan Arenado at third base, Andres Galarraga first base, Trevor Story shortstop, Brendan Rodgers second base, center field Dexter Fowler, left field Brad Hopp, catching Elias Diaz, starting on the mound Kyle Freeland, and Brian Fuentes is the closer with Don Baylor at the helm as the manager. I have first baseman Todd Helton, center fielder Carlos Gonzalez, second baseman DJ LeMahieu, shortstop Troy Tulowitzki, right field Charlie Blackmon, left field Matt Holliday, third base Vinny Castilla, catching Joe Girardi, starting on the mound Ubaldo Jimenez, and catching Houston Street with Clint Hurdle at the helm. Not too shabby.
Yeah, honestly, I think those are two very, and obviously, they're made up of some of the best players in Rockies history, but I don't think anyone would turn down either of those lineups. If you're in like a nebulous void of time, and time doesn't matter, age doesn't matter, and you go, here are your two choices for your Colorado Rockies starting lineup today, I think you'd be happy with either one.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. What matters is what you think. So let us know on Twitter and in the comments who you think has the better lineup.
Indeed. And maybe we'll even have Evan put it into MLB The Show.
I'd be down to do that.
That'd be pretty fun. Anyways, that's going to do it here for this edition of Affected by Altitude. We've run a little bit long, but as always, we appreciate you sticking around. Evan, where can the folks find you?
You can find me at Evan_Lang27 on Twitter. I would love to hear from you. You can also catch me every Thursday doing the Thursday Rock Pile and the Thursday game coverage on purplerow.com. Also hit us up on the Rocky Mountain Rooftop Twitter account, which is at RockyMTN Rooftop, and at Affected by Altitude, the official Twitter account for Affected by Altitude.
There you go.
And we ran long because we did the fun stuff for longer. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
We took a little extra time to have some fun, and sometimes you need that in life.
It's true. And hopefully we can do some other drafts and have some more fun stipulations on them.
Absolutely.
And whatnot. You can find me on Twitter at sideline_crowd. Fun stuff there. And then always writing at purplerow.com on the Wednesday Rock Piles. Also be sure to check out the Every Rocky Ever podcast, which is part of our Rocky Mountain Rooftop Network. It comes out every other, like second and fourth Wednesday of each month or so. And this most recent one, we talked about Michael Kadire. And so it was a lot of fun talking about that.
I love Cuddy.
Aaron Cook is here at the Rockies game for the weekend. He was one of our first episodes. Go back and look at that. And here's talk about Aaron Cook and the legacy he left as a pitcher on the Rockies.
Good episode. Both of those very good episodes. You can also look forward to, now that I am finally mostly fully healthy again, we're finally getting out our May episode of the Pebble Report monthly podcast. We're going to record that at some point here in this weekend. It should be out the same week as this episode, probably on Tuesday. So look forward to that.
And also be sure to let us know, leave a review on the podcast. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave a review, and hopefully it's 5 stars.
Yeah, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please feel free to go down and just leave a review, because we love to hear your feedback. But also, getting reviews, especially higher rated reviews, does help the show to grow and expand.
Indeed. And let us know what other content you want. What Rockies do you want us to hear on Every Rocky Ever? Extra shows, content you want to hear from us. We're here for the fans and also for ourselves, and to just talk about Rockies baseball. But as always, we appreciate all your support and listening to the show and sharing it around. And be sure to follow us and interacting here on the Twitters. But that'll do it here for this week's edition of Affected by Altitude. As always, I'm Skyler. That's Evan. And we'll see you next time. Hit him with it, Evan.
Farewell. Go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets.
I can't find the end record button.